Mr. Hogan kept his right arm bent through impact. How did he accomplish that, and what did it do for his golf swing? And could we learn to do that as well? Let's take a look. Okay, first clip, 1953, P5 position. We can see the right elbow position here with the lines. We don't get to see P6, but we can definitely see P7. And if we, again, use our line tool, we see a lot of right arm bend at impact. All right, now using this wonderful software from Mr. Greg McHatton and his team, we're going to trace the right elbow from the down the line view on the right side of your screen. And we'll see here at P6 that the right elbow is actually quite a bit lower to the ground approaching the ball. So there's that right arm bend at impact. And it's really not going to straighten very much until well post impact. And now the face-on view, left side of the screen trace. We can see the right elbow, the blue dot, is about over his right hip at address. And so at impact, it's quite a bit more forward. Doesn't really straighten until about here, does it? Now let's start to investigate some clues on how he was doing this. So we've got our right shoulder and spine in red at address. And right shoulder and spine in yellow at impact. So we can see the right shoulder has gone closer to the ground by about 3 inches or so, and also the spine is more tilted away from the target. So now the question becomes, how did he accomplish this bent right arm at impact? If we look at yellow lines for address, we can measure his height and his distance from the ball. So we're going to see him compress into the ground or get lower or shorter in his backswing. He's actually going to continue that motion through the ball. So now he's actually shorter, and you can see he's a little bit further away from the ball with his rear, and that allowed him to get right arm bend longer in the swing. Now, going along with that clue, we could study the left knee, as we'll trace it here. And I'd like you to notice, when do you see the knee completely straighten? Right here, right? So he's well past impact before the knee completely locks up. So what that did was, again, keep him lower to the ground, which means he wasn't raising up too quickly, and that allowed him to keep that right arm bend longer. So let's take another look at the left knee. Again, when does it straighten? Almost into the finish. And another clue, when did he stop rotating on the downswing? Same location. So by compressing into the ground and staying compressed, that allowed his trunk to get closer to the ground, which kept his right shoulder closer to the ground, which enabled him to keep his right elbow bent. And by continuously rotating, he was able to keep the right arm bend. So now we understand a little bit more about how he did these movements to accomplish a bent right arm at impact, and the question becomes why? And I think the answer is for two reasons. Could be more than two, but two primary reasons. One is he kept the right elbow bend. He was able to save his swing speed for later in the swing. As you probably know, the faster the right arm straightens, the more you lose your angles coming through the ball. And that's a big influence on distance you're going to hit the ball. The second reason, you remember Mr. Hogan fought a hook for a long time. The faster you straighten the right arm, whether it's on purpose or not, the faster that right arm straightens for a right-handed golfer, the faster the club face closes. So he was accomplishing two different things, maintaining speed but also controlling the rate of closure on the club face by keeping that right arm bend much longer through the swing. So then the final question becomes, how could you learn to have more right arm bend at impact? Really, it's a simple thought, but it's going to take some practice. And the thought is you have to compress more into the ground, into the backswing. So we can't be raising out of posture early, extending in the backswing, first of all. As a transitional thought into the downswing, you have to think about the idea of sitting and rotating, okay? So Mr. Hogan, as you know, was a very body-oriented swing. He did not arm swing it. Yes, he talked about, I wish I had three right hands, but basically he was hitting the ball with his body. Arms were very passive. So that idea, again, of sit and rotate is going to enable you to have that right arm bend much longer than you've had it before. All right, so a couple of checkpoints. When we get to P6, if the right elbow is too much behind the center line of the body or the torso, then we're going to have a really hard time keeping the right arm bent, because we're going to have to either use an excessive amount of rotation to keep the right arm bent, or we're going to have to fire that right arm to get to the ball. So Mr. Hogan had the elbow more down in front, and then kept the left arm pinned on the chest, and then from here he just simply kept the entire torso rotating, and then the arm straightened post impact.